Now we will start the press conference with the Prime Minister. First, the Prime Minister Kishida will make an opening remarks. Yes, today we ended 55 days of a diet sessions, and we closed the 212th diet. At the end of the diet time, I would like to deliver my remarks. More than anything, we put priority on the economy. That's my determination, and we've established comprehensive economic package, and to support them, I worked with my all effort to approve and compile the supplementary budget. And not only ruling parties, but the DPFP and the Japan Innovation Party, all political groups across the board, we gained votes in favor to approve them. I am very much encouraged. In terms of the bills, all the bills submitted by the government, 14 of them were approved. In October, we've requested of order for dissolution toward the former Unification Church and for the relief of those victims. Now, virtually all political parties agreed on the legislation by Diet members for the new law, and it was also approved. For this extraordinary Diet sessions, for those who supported and cooperated for the smooth operation, I extend my appreciation. First, in opening, LDP's political groups, fundraising parties, related issue, I would like to deliver my comments. Each political group's activities and the LDP's political activities from the viewpoint of the political funds, we are receiving critical views and the situations that stir suspicion among the Japanese people. I see it very regrettable. With no trust, things cannot be achieved. Without the trust of the people, we cannot have the stability of the politics. As the whole political party, we have strong sense of the crisis, and we will respond in a united manner. As a Prime Minister and as a President of LDP, toward the restoration of the trust to the politics, the constitution of the LDP should be renewed, and I will take a leadership in addressing this challenge. I believe this is my task and mission. The people who urge the political reform, we receive these critical voices, and to those voices, I will listen sincerely. And with the parliamentarians of the LDP, I will have a square discussion in a focused manner on the reform based on the facts that are to be confirmed in going forward. I will clarify them. As the first step, each political group's parties will not be held for the time being. That's what we have agreed. And to restore the trust of the people, I will take a lead to clearly show my attitude to address these challenges. I myself decided to be separated from the political group. Toward the year end, we have a budget, tax system, and medical fee compensation and nursing fee compensation, the simultaneous revisions, which relate to the lives of the people and also basic policy of the nation. We have many important decisions to make. We are reaching the milestone. As the one of ruling parties of the government, we make sure that there will be no delays in national politics, and I need to work on that, and I will make my utmost effort for this. With those thinkings, with the closing of Diet term, tomorrow I will make personal decisions in a swift manner. I decided that will be an appropriate thing to do. So at earliest possible, I will start the necessary procedures. From now to the year end, we will have a series of decisions on the policies that are all important, and I myself will spearhead the LDP in order to restore the trust of the people toward the politics. I will make my utmost effort, and to promote the policies, I need to make sure there will be no roadblocks. With all government's ruling parties, I will have the high sense of the attention to work to address the current issue.
Kishida administration has diligently worked on the problems that cannot be postponed. In the area of diplomacy, leaders of India and other global South countries and Ukraine were invited when Japan, as a pacifist country, organized the G7 summit in Hiroshima. A sense of trust with my relationship with President Yoon of South Korea was also promoted, thereby promoting the bilateral countries rapidly. An epoch-making summit talk among Japan, the US, and South Korea was held at the Camp David as well. November started with the Japan-China summit meeting, followed by the resumption of the bilateral dialogues through various channels between the two countries. 2024 will be an intense year. Russian aggression against Ukraine, the Israel-Palestinian affairs, the US presidential election, and general elections in other countries. Closer relations between Russia and North Korea and other factors are complicating the security environment in East Asia. We must capitalize on Japan's diplomatic prowess to overcome the difficult situations. And indeed, Japan must demonstrate its leadership. To do so, imperative is the stability in domestic politics in Japan. In the area of economy, the new forms of capitalism was the banner under which a range of initiatives were rolled out. Thanks to these efforts, wage hikes, capital investments, and stock prices all marked a record high for the first time in 30 years. Wage increases to beat the rising prices. Aggressive capital investment in green and digital technologies. Labor mobility across the silos of companies. Robust metabolism in corporate activities. In order to move on to the next stage of economy, full of energy, we must arrive at a critical juncture to graduate from the deflationary and cost-cutting driven mentality. First time after 30 years of negative spiral. 2024 will be a year of make or break, whether or not to grasp the rare opportunity or to go back to the past. We must protect people's lives from the rising prices That is why we need to increase wages above the level of rising prices. And that is a must. We will therefore take a whole-of-government approach to achieve that. At the news conference at the beginning of the year, I declared that I will take up the challenge of providing an unprecedented level of policy package to roll back the declining birth rate. In April, we have inaugurated the Children and Families Agency, and in June, I have proposed to raise the per capita child-related allowance to the level of Sweden, the top runner of the OECD countries. And next week, we will officially launch the Children's Future Strategy with the details of the program. The need has been there all the years, but these challenges couldn't be overcome in the past. But I am positive that I have been able to produce certain outcomes in areas of difficult challenges. Going forward, I will pull all the stops implementing the initiatives rolled out, including the measures for declining birth rate and the implementation of digital reforms in administration. With the long-term strategy needed to combat declining population, we will rise to the challenge to maintain the sustainability of Japan. These initiatives for the challenges that cannot be postponed, I have outlined, have been made possible thanks to the political stability. Without the nation's trust in government, political affairs cannot be stabilized. Current situation. Without the stable politics, we cannot push policies, and this situation makes us aware of that fact even more. We will keep a close watch on the development of the problems we face, and we will squarely deal with the situation. I therefore must ask for the understanding and the support of the nation. And I'm determined to lead the Liberal Democratic Party as a rolling fireball. Therefore, I need to ask for your kind understanding. This concludes my remarks.
We open the floor for questions. When you are nominated, please proceed to your nearest microphone and please ask one question at a time, starting with the coordinating media companies, starting with the Hokkaido newspaper, please. I am Fujimoto from Hokkaido Shimbun. I would like to ask about the LDP's politics and money-related issue. With the kickback suspicion of Abe faction, Chief Cabinet Secretary Matsuno and Minister Nishimura and also the policy chairman Mr. Hagiura, many of them have been pointed out. And there are news reports that you are going to replace those some of these members to a new one, and many people see it as an issue of LDP. And so people are also seeing you critically as the president of LDP. So if there is a new suspicion arising to a different diet members after the cabinet reshuffle, what will be the action or responsibility that you're considering to take? Yes. Currently, the related political groups, fundraising party, there are many opinions and views, and trust of the people to the politics is wavering, and we are also viewed very critically. That's how I see the current situation. This is something that we as whole LDP, we need to understand the current situation with a sense of the criticism. And regarding this situation, there is criminal charges being filed, and the investigation and examination need to be made, and we explain thoroughly to the authority, and the facts need to be confirmed. That's something we are required to do, and based on those, corrections and other appropriate measures to be taken. Regarding the facts, if those facts are identified or confirmed, those need to be clearly explained to the people of Japan. And in that context, various issues and also root causes will be discovered, and with the strong understanding or clear understanding of this issue as particular to LDP, we need to have a clear vision of what needs to be corrected or how it should be corrected. And we need to face this squarely as an issue of LDP. And regarding the personal decisions, human resources affairs, in order to restore the trust to the politics and that national politics in the political affairs, we cannot cause any delay. In order to avoid any delays, I would like to make personal decisions. That's a reason of the personal decision. And regarding the personal decisions that are to be made tomorrow, we are still coordinating those personal decisions. And after the coordination, I would like to present it tomorrow. And your question, you mentioned if there are any other individuals with a suspicion. Well, now we are about to make a personal decision, so based on the hypothesis, I don't think it is appropriate to answer to a hypothetical question. But in order not to stir any suspicion, how we can respond to these issues and what will be the system or structure to respond to these issues, that is something that we would like to explore sincerely and deeply and make an appropriate decision.
Next question from Fuji TV. Sejima of Fuji TV. My question is related. Question on the measures to prevent the recurrence of such scandal. In order to regain public trust, it is imperative to thoroughly fact-find what actually happened. Do you have any plans to set a timeline to disclose the result of the investigation, and do you plan to provide any instruction on this? And you also mentioned that you will be investigate the situation thoroughly. Do you have any intention to discuss political fund control law in the next session, next year? Do you also see any changes for the faction-based politics, and going forward, what do you plan to do? First, on the question of fact-finding, and the timeline. Were the questions included? In reality, we are facing a range of different cases. So I cannot give you a cookie-cutter answer as to provide the deadline by which to disclose the result of the investigation. But in terms of the process, as I have just mentioned, there are criminal charges being brought to some members. So these persons who have been brought these charges needs to scrutinize the situations, and that is where we have to exert our utmost effort. We also have to explain the situation to the competent authorities so that we can improve the situation appropriately. After the thorough fact-finding, we need to explain what was discovered. I think that is the accountability politics needs to maintain. And this is how I intend to achieve the responsibility and accountability. And through this process, I will try to find the root causes and other factors. And based on these findings, we should explore how the LDP should reform itself. And with a strong sense of responsibility, we will have to diligently work on that endeavor. As the president of LDP, I am determined to push these endeavor. He also asked about political funds control law and faction-based politics. As we push these initiatives, we must first discover the fact. Causes and challenges will be revealed through that process. And the points we have suggested may likely to be included in the discussion as well. We must regain the trust from the people, and based on that need, we will have to explore all the possibilities. Either case, there are voices of people calling for political reforms. This important voice needs to be embraced by the LDP. With a strong sense of crisis, I am determined to push these agenda.
Next, Nippon TV Hiramatsu-san, please. I am Hiramoto from Nippon TV. You said that the people in Japan is giving critical views on the current situation. The top position person set the target and then take the leadership in solving the issue. There are some voices urging the whole cabinet to resign, but after the cabinet reshuffle, the incumbent cabinet may resign. Do you have such kind of a determination by blocking the path forward? And in the opening remarks, you mentioned about the rolling fireball. And what is the significance that you wanted to deliver in this expression? Yes, as I've said, on the current situation, we have to have the common understanding and also share the sense of their urgency. And I myself, I do take a leadership in tackling on the current situation. And as I've said, first, the fact-finding. That's something needs to be scrutinized and then confirmed. And then upon that, we need to act appropriately. And we need to explain them to the people. That is the basics. And on top of that, the root causes and identify any issues that we need to face squarely, and we need to deliver results. That is the attitude as a political party, and I need to spearhead that effort. That is my determination. Your question is that once the budget is compiled, am I going to dissolve the cabinet and also the election in going forward? Now, we don't have a luxury to imagine the future. What we need to do now is that I need to put all of my effort and energy to the issue we see in front of myself, and about the expression of fireball is, as I have been saying, on the current situation, the strong sense of criticism. As the Prime Minister, I have the greatest or the gravest sense of criticism. That is what I meant.
Osugi-san of Tokyo Shimbun. Osugi of Tokyo Shimbun. In your statement, the reason why the situation has arrived at this critical juncture, how do you evaluate your own responsibility? And you started discussing the amendment of political funds control law, but what do you personally consider is the root cause of this problem? And how do you plan to regain trust of people? But if you wait for the movement by the criminal charges, then you will not be able to show the direction into which we will be heading. Do you have any concrete plans? If you do, please share it with us. First, the background factors. And how do I look at these background factors? As the Prime Minister, a number of questions is being asked, and a number of Diet members have received points and criticisms. We have to scrutinize each point of assertion. We cannot take a standard approach until we find out the fact as to what actually happened. And political fund related issues and legal compliance related to that requires higher level of sensitivity, and we first have to explore if we have been on the right mindset in terms of the sensitivity to the compliance requirement. Fact-finding. Members are being brought criminal charges, and investigation is now underway, as I have been told. Explanation to the competent authority and clarification and confirmation of the information are some the steps that cannot be skipped. And I think these are the steps that needs to be taken. We must find the fact, and by finding the fact, we can provide information and explanation in a swift manner. On the part of LDP, we have to thoroughly take the measures so that we can fulfill our accountability at an earliest day possible. Based on that need, we have to think about what needs to be done and what needs to be changed within LDP. And these answers needs to be provided to the people, thereby paving the way for us to regain the trust from the people. And these are the things that I would like to lead.
Tanabe-san from Mainichi, please. I am Tanabe from Mainichi Shimbun. Regarding the revision of the political funds control law is being discussed, and also the full disclosure of the selling and also the purchasing of the party tickets. Do you think it is appropriate to debate that, or do you think it is not necessary? And regarding personal decisions, and that reason being based on the current situation, and in a ministerial press conference and also the press conferences, there are many cases or conferences that the answers have not been provided. But because they are based on the public capacity, and for all those new members to be appointed will no longer be the case. First of all, the political funds control law. Am I willing to debate about the revision, and through the actions that I explained and facts finding being done, and we take actions based on the fact finding and also take measures. And in that process, the root causes and issues being identified, and then we can clarify what sort of response is required. And then if it is a case related to the law, it may be the case, but fact-finding, we haven't completed the fact-finding and discussing what will be the criteria or how we are going to proceed. First, we need to wait for the fact-finding to determine the process onward. And I'm considering some replacement on the personnels, and many stakeholders to the national politics. We cannot cause any delays, and because of those reasons, each member is considering what he or she should do on each post. There are various situations, but based on each situation, there may be, as a result, to ensure there will be no delay to the political affairs. I believe each will make a decision. At any rate, as I've said, in the process of the current situation and after the fact-finding, then fulfilling the task of accountability, I think we are also all in the same page.
Sugiyama-san from Reuters. Sugiyama from Reuters. How do you plan to explain the political fund scandal to other countries? You have been inviting international investment on tours to foreign countries, and you have been inviting FDIs in the area of semiconductors. Destabilized politics may also drive away some investors. How do you plan to explain the situation to international audience, and how do you wipe out the issues related? Changes in Japan have been positively embraced by many international investors. For the first time in September, we organized the Japan Week, and investors from around the world have had a positive prospect for Japan. And that was the reason that such a large number of international investors have visited Tokyo during that week. Growth-driven economy is the one Japan is planning to transition to. And we also need to grow out of deflation and deflationary mindset. These are the areas where international investors' expectations run high. Going forward, Public-Private Investment Forum will be held next week. And domestic investment package will be compiled so that investment deals in growth areas can be promoted. And after the turn of the year, the new NISA will be launched to facilitate the shift from savings to investment. Through these steps, I hope to contribute to positive assessment of Japan by international investors. And we also have a plan to create Japan based on asset management, and the package has been officially launched today. And with these plans, we would like to project Japan's strategies internationally. But in this endeavor and on this journey, the very basis of the success of these projects are political stability. It is quite regrettable that the stability has been undermined due to the ongoing situation. These policies I have just outlined will be positively promoted. At the same time, we have to work on regaining people's trust. And these are the two requirements Japan needs to fulfill to win higher expectation for Japan.
Akiyama-san from Nikkei, please. Akiyama from Nikkei Shimbun. I have a question on the economy. BOJ President Ueda remarked that it will be even more challenging from the year end to next year, and the market is also speculating the lifting of the negative interest rate policy. And Prime Minister has set out economic measures to create a virtuous cycle of investment and consumption with the wage increase by getting out of deflation. And if the monetary policy starts to tightening direction, it may become inconsistent with the government. What is your take? Yes, the government and the BOJ, we closely cooperate. We've already confirmed, meaning structural wage increase related economic growth. And the price stability target to be achieved and also being suspended and also being operated sustainably. And we have the same views. And we, each of us, will work on the endeavor regarding the monetary policies, the specific methods. They are in hands of BOJ. But for BOJ, the government's various policies, the wage increase and also the virtual cycle of the growth and distribution, this sustainable wage increase should continue and getting out of the deflation and getting out of the cost cut mindset. That to be, again, constantly reminded by the BOJ itself, and then work with the government. That's my expectation, meaning appropriate monetary policy decisions that are in the hands of BOJ, but the government's economic measures objective and also their endeavors, they also take it, incorporate that into their policies.
Yoshimatsu-san of Minami Nippon. Yoshimatsu of Minami Nippon newspaper. Osprey crash off the coast of Kagoshima has resulted in 8 deaths, and the government has demanded the suspension of operation until the clarification of the safety. However, before that suspension, the U.S. military started operating the Osprey for over a week. And do you also have any plans to review the status of a treaty between Japan and the U.S.? First, with regard to the operation of U.S. aircraft, safety of the people in the community is a prerequisite. In the aftermath of the accident, people in the community, in the vicinities of U.S. bases, and people in Kagoshima in particular, are worried and concerned about its safety. That voice is being embraced squarely. On the part of the government of Japan, immediately after the accident, we have requested the U.S. military to suspend the operation of Osprey up until the time that the safety was confirmed. CV-22 of the U.S. Air Force, the same model of the Air Osprey that caused the accident, has been first suspended, but the scope of suspension has been expanded to include the aircraft and Ospreys owned by U.S. Marines and other arms of the U.S. Army. And that announcement has been made at a later date. That has been the chronological situation. All the Ospreys in Japan are now grounded, and we have asked the U.S. to keep them grounded until the safety have been reconfirmed. We also asked for sufficient information to wipe out people's worries over the safety of this model. And that is what I intend to do. As you have rightly pointed out, self-defense forces are also operating some Ospreys. operational suspension also accompanied a request for detailed information to the U.S. Flight safety needs to be reconfirmed. And by taking these steps, we will be able to provide the needed support for the people in the community at the same time taking the needed measures. That is the steps Japan needs to take. Thank you.
Due to the Prime Minister's schedule, we will take 2 more questions. Azumi-san, please. I am Azumi. I'm a freelancer. Regarding factions, party ticket issues, you remarked that this is an issue of the overall LDP, and you have a very strong sense of urgency on this. How about making a statement that all factions to be abolished, and you being the chair of Kochikai up until recently, how about dissolving Kochikai? It is just viewed as an institution to generate a kickback. That's how Japanese people see those factions. And the politics are for and with the people. But in order to realize it, I believe we need to eliminate these political factions, and are those voices being heard by you? Yes, as you've said, vis-a-vis LDP and also vis-a-vis politics, there are critical voices and opinions. There are various opinions. I am aware there are various opinions and views I am receiving, and in responding to those voices, restoring the trust of the political affairs and also restore trust toward the LDP. You rightly pointed it out. And as those proposals just being raised, the actions and the responses for us to take those actions, the fact-finding need to be done, and also the process of explanation. I believe that's what's required. And then identify the root causes, and then respond to those various voices.
Nakagawa-san of Chugok Shimbun newspaper. Nakagawa of Chugok Shimbun. I would like you to look back on the year as the presiding country of G7. You organized G7 summit in Hiroshima, and you also imparted peace message to the world. But in Gaza or in Ukraine, conflicts continue. And there are voices questioning the treatment of these affairs by G7 countries. Based on international affairs, what challenges does the G7 have, and what roles should they play? This year, Japan presided over the G7 meeting this year. And at the G7 Hiroshima summit in May, AI, environment, and other important topics have been taken. The very basic of this discussion needs to be anchored in the international upheavals as we see it. We have to find a foundation, a robust foundation, and that foundation needs to be reconfirmed not only by G7 countries, but countries in the Global 7 as well. Not the fragmentation or division. The international community needs to work together, and we have to attempt to find a pathway forward. Open and free international order based on rules. International law is existing to protect weaker countries. And we have to reevaluate or think about an international community predicated on international law. In the changing international order, we also have to work with countries in the global south, not the superpowers, but the countries in the global south needs to be our partner countries in trying to do new things. That is why I invited leaders from Ukraine, India, Brazil, and Indonesia as guest participants. Based on this thinking, we have arrived at a conclusion in a statement which I think was of great importance. G7 positions towards Ukraine is allegedly being criticized by some. Free and open international order needs to be embraced not only by G7 countries, but also by other friendly countries. And unilateral change of status quo by force should not be tolerated, regardless of geographical location or by the driver of the country. I understand that there are different views on the Ukrainian affairs, but we must stick to these very basics that I have just mentioned. And I am very proud that we have been able to demonstrate leadership on this front as the presiding country of G7. I have just organized the very last TV conference as the Prime Minister of the presiding country of G7. And the presidency will be handed to Italy after the turn of the year. In the confusions, the international order being undermined requires us to work with these countries with the very principles that we must stick to. Thank you. With this, the news conference is closed. Those of you who are still raising their hands can send their questions via email, and you will receive answers to these questions in writing.